All right, we are back. It's week 34 recap from the workshop, which happened on April 12th, 2026. I always have this tiny screwdriver, which is a bad idea since I play with things when I talk. So this week, 36 people. Will we crack 40? We will see. I have a feeling we probably will at some point. Again, a lot of times it's a lot of repeat people, but I'd say this time there's maybe, 10 new people too. Sometimes people come once, sometimes they don't come back. Some people come every week. That's what the workshop is. It's there for you, for different people. Everybody uses it for different reasons. We had to meet in the outside stage area of Creek and Cave this week because of a private event going on inside. I'm going to fix it a little bit. There we go. And the cool thing about that was that it was on the verge of rain the whole time, which added an element of emotion, which is always good. We got lightly sprinkled on, but that's about it. So it was a win for the most part. We did get some thunder and lightning at some point. No lightning, but it was in the air. So stand up, we started with in the career section talking about my background again is 3 parts at least. My main entertainment areas at least are stand up, joke writing, TV joke writing, and producing. We mostly talked this week about producing again, that I worked as a segment producer on talk shows. I was mostly a writer, but 2 different shows I got promoted up to segment producer. On Best in Sports Show, period, I co-produced our sports update segment, which is like the weekend update on Saturday Night Live, where you go back through the week, turn the news into jokes, and then you take shots at people, which is always fun. That was a super fun time. Like, I got to oversee the script, I got to work with the talent, I got to cast people, and then I had to go in with the director and producing people, or production people, and I actually figured out how to shoot this thing. Learned a lot. I was also a segment producer for a very, very short time on Dennis Miller. I got promoted up to co-produce the Standup segment, where we had stand-ups on, and they came over and sat and talked to Dennis, which would have been fun, but we got canceled that same week that we started it. The first guy that we were going to do it with was Brian Regan, and I would have gotten to sort of evaluate comics that we could use, work with them, negotiate with them, help them prepare their sets, the interview, get ready for everything. That would have been a great job, because that's right in my wheelhouse of doing kind of education and stand-up and producing. And if I'd gotten 6 months in on that and booked comics and things, it would have opened up a lot of other jobs for me. Not sure I would have wanted to do that long term anyway, but it would have been a fun job. We also talked a little bit about why people do stand-up comedy. And there's a range of reasons. Some of them to me are still kind of surprising. Some people do it as an art, or a calling, like they were born to be a stand-up, or it's their art form, which is fine. Some people like me do it as a profession. Like very early when I got into stand-up, I started looking at it like, oh, this is a way to make money, organize a career, maybe move into Hollywood through it. So I always approached it in that way. So I'm more of a professional with stand-up. Then there are people who do it as PDJs, personal development journeys. They've always wanted to do this. It's on their bucket list. They see it as an achievement. It's kind of like running a marathon for people. It's like something odd, or hiking Machu Picchu, which is one of my favorite things I see people do. That's fine. I don't approach it that way, but if you do, more power to you. Some people do it for socially good reasons, for politics and to fight for justice for groups. Again, not my thing, but I don't really do those things, so I respect them if that's why you're doing it, but I teach professional stand-up, helping people get higher up into levels of professional stand-up. Then briefly we talked about character again, because I always come back to this, how powerful it is if you want to make money and move up into the industry to have a really strong, vibrant, interesting, unique character. And I talked again about Martha Kelly, who was a longtime Austin comic, started in California, and a really good one. Like, I always found her really funny, very interesting, quirky. Her writing skills were good, but her character and performance were what distinguished her. She's very short, very plain-faced, like very deadpanned. Looks like a normal person, but when she starts to talk, her voice is very kind of high-pitched, very deadpan. Doesn't do any facial expressions really when she talks and does comedy. She's much more animated in real life, but she was lifted out for those things and put into Hollywood, and she's done tons of stuff now as an actor. She's on Euphoria right now. The reason I was thinking about her this weekend was I'd just seen something on the internet that she's a villain on Euphoria, and apparently a really creepy, effective one. So I need to look that up. But I could see it working because she is such a character that's kind of at odds or askance or different in the normal universe of human beings, that it probably plays pretty well even as a villain. Next, in the 4-person 20-minute staff exercise, where we break people into 4-person teams and go around the room and everybody gets 5 minutes to do something. We're still working on performance. So again, this week it was, can you take a line of yours and write a performance script for it so that you're doing voice, face, body, hands, movements, costuming, hair, whatever, that adds performance interest to your script. And so everybody got a chance to do that, again, in a 20-minute exercise. High-speed exercises, I'm trying to keep the workshop moving fast. 2 things I noticed, and I knew these were going to happen, but you kind of need a head writer to organize even these 4-person groups, because everybody's either personal dysfunction or professional dysfunction or communication dysfunction tends to well up once they start doing work together. So the 2 dysfunctions I saw to think about, I saw people go into their introvert selves, where they didn't hardly say anything. They were letting everybody else talk. And that is not a good way to stay employed in collaborative entertainment. Then I saw the opposite, people that took over the group, they're extrovert, over-talker personalities. And that's just as dysfunctional, maybe even worse, because a lot of times they're just saying things, they're not thinking about them. And blathering will also get you fired. So you need a head writer to organize and control personalities and skill levels and make sure they mix and match. We don't have that in this exercise, so sometimes it kind of, I think people sometimes get a functional experience of it, sometimes dysfunctional. But again, that's kind of good training, that you've got to deal with that stuff. And the best way to deal with it is for somebody to step up and go, I'm going to be the head writer here. I'll organize this, and I'll slap people down when they're being dysfunctional, and I'll uplift them when they're being functional. Only way to do it. Then we moved to the performance quick fix, insta fix hour. We all had to get right up to the stage in the outside area because it was drizzling just barely. And so everybody tucked up really close to the stage. And there was 35 people there, so there was a lot of energy in that little packet of people. And that worked pretty well. It reminded me of a writer's room or a very small stand-up room where you get it full and there's all this human energy. So we may have to do some of that going forward. In the bigger space inside the creek and cave, the energy tends to diffuse. Also, I jumped up on stage in order to get out of the rain, and I sat on a stool off to the far left while people performed. And that kind of worked too, because I could face the people who were giving feedback the rest of the class. And I think that activated things more. I could see who wanted to say something. I could kind of, again, organize as the head writer while sitting on stage to make sure everybody talked. Again, we sort of worked on performance stuff, which is, first of all, can you write an orchestrated performance script that matches up to every beat that you want to perform in your written script? That's number one. Can you portray emotions in a real, authentic way? So if there's an emotion that you mention in your script, you should also be able to show it. Bad acting, you need some acting training with this stuff, because bad acting is cringy. It really will be distracting to the audience. But good acting, it's hard to describe how much it adds to the comedic performance of this stuff, or the comedic value of it. We talked about, are you using your entire performance instrument, which is the face, body, hands, voice, all that stuff. Can you make every performance element vibrant? Like, doing it a little bit isn't really that helpful. Once you turn it way up, you can watch, the audience will just, sort of elevate instantly. And that's what you're looking for. And finally, can you think of yourself not just as a stand-up, the generic idea of a stand-up, but as a professional performer? Because that's really what you are. Stand-ups a lot of times hide inside the identity of, I'm a stand-up, man. I'm just, askance to the world, do my thing. But you're actually a professional performer, especially if you want to get paid for it. So you need to start thinking of yourself along those lines, and that you need to put a performance script together. You need to perform this stuff in order to get paid for it. And Austin, again, is not a highly professionalized entertainment environment, so people tend to ignore a lot of the performance stuff. But you get outside of Austin and you go into a professional entertainment setting and don't perform. Like if you're really low energy, you're not doing anything with your face and your voice and stuff like that, you'll get fired instantly. It just doesn't work in professional entertainment settings. Some of the highlights from that afternoon of doing the 1 hour outside of the feedback session. It's a guy named Knight who looked like somebody else who had been on Kill Tony, sort of had long hair, young guy. And I didn't know what he was going to do, but he got up and he started singing the opening to Man in the Box by Alice in Chains. And I told him to do it again, but this time make everybody do it with him. And when he did, the whole room just lit up. Like it was so much fun to watch everybody. And so things like that, I think as a director, when you can add that stuff in, it's fun to watch when it actually really works. Then there was somebody who came, who was a first timer there, and went up and afterwards told me that it was his first time he'd ever been on stage, like since he was a kid, and sort of plays at school or something. So that was fun. But then he also mentioned that he was drunk, which I could kind of tell on stage. He was having a hard time focusing and listening to the feedback. And I don't know, be you. You be you. If that's you, you be you. And I know stand-up has a lot of deviance element in it, so it can sort of hold on to some of those things. Just as a pro tip, I've never seen that work for anybody ever professionally. Maybe like once you're really hardcore trained and talented and been experienced for a long time, you can kind of go up drunk or high and still get to your script in a way. But it throws off your ability to actually perceive what's happening around you. You end up laughing at stuff and thinking you're doing well when you're not. And there was more than one person that was higher drunk at the workshop this weekend. And it's Sunday afternoon. So again, you be you, but pro tip, keep that in your private life, not your public life. And the workshop is, public life. You're ostensibly learning how to be a pro. Last thing, we jumped over to Shiner's Saloon for the second attempt at the Hot Mic Comedy and Networking Show. And while there's still lots of things to figure out, I thought it worked really well to keep energy in the room. We had some people who actually showed up as real audience members from Eventbrite, and then Stu barked some people in. So there's maybe 10, 12, 15 real human beings, not just comics in the audience. They tend to come in, hang out for a little while and leave, because part of the problem with these kind of barked in open mics is that they're free. People didn't come to hear comedy. They might want to go do other stuff, so they have a low tolerance. And if it's not highly professional, high stimulating, very well rehearsed, very professional stand-up, it'll start to lower the energy in the room. And that's kind of what I'm fighting against, because once that energy starts to go low and people hear 2, 3, 4 jokes in a row that don't really hit, or if they hear some flat stand-up for a minute or two, they start thinking about leaving. And that's not what we want. I want to keep energy up the entire time. And maybe as we go, people will get stronger and stronger skills for these sort of low stimulation environments. And they'll be able to carry that moment and keep those people there. But for now, we're going to keep doing this sort of social life over here, keep going, energy in the room, people talking back and forth to the comic. So it's not pure stand-up, but it's not chaos. And see if that keeps energy in, and it certainly did this time. And some people did really well. Like Kimber went up and did her 2 minutes, as she said. I don't have 5 minutes, but I've got 2 minutes. And crushed it with punchline, 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 punchline. She kind of stalled on the last punch, getting out of it. But that's the way you do professional stand-up. You establish a character and you just start hitting punches. And she did that really well. And there are a few other people told that were really interesting, I thought. there are other ways of us doing this, again, to keep it stimulating. It doesn't have to be stand-up monologue. It can be storytelling, it can be lots of different things. Mike went up first time. He's actually done a public performance on just a pure comedy stage. He's a professional speaker, so he's done a lot of that. But I told him just go up and say he has 8 kids and then start into from that, because it's such a galvanizing piece of information. And he did, and then people started asking questions, and so it was great to watch all that stuff come together. And then the super highlight, there was an audience member, Mitch, who had talked to some, because I emceed the show, I hosted the show to try to make sure we could keep all the forces swirling but organized. And this guy Mitch I'd talked to a little bit, and he said he was in marketing, and he kind of took a zing at the entire room by saying, well, I'm waiting for something to be funny. I'm like, I get it. Yeah, I get it. But towards the end, I asked everybody else wanted to go up from the audience, and his wife jumped up and roasted him for a good 2 minutes. And she was really good. Like, she very, well spoken and fast and didn't screw anything up, and gave him a few zings, and that was fun. So it was fun to see people who aren't stand-ups but can still step into that environment and offer something funny and interesting and stimulating. So it was good. Next week, we're going to continue on performance, bring in a 1-minute script, and try to go full instrument on it. By which I mean every beat, every piece of thing that should be funny in that script or stimulating, you add an emotion and then figure out how to perform that. If it's vocal changes, if it's facial expressions, if you're talking about being mad, you should look mad, all these different things. Or if you have characters, you should act those out. We'll work on that again next week. So there you go. Super fun week. I'm kind of stoked now about the saloon show, if we can keep sort of innovating on it and making that work. And I will see you next week.